Hello, and welcome to Husky Talk. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I would like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. They're one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in wealth management, employee benefits, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz is a proud supporter of Husky Talk, and he is going to give me a Tesla any day now. Green Street Trust International. It's in West Palm Beach, Florida, owned and operated by Rennell Jump. They will save you money or give you a big fat return on your taxes. Any small or large business, to get a free strategic tax planning session, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, if you had a slip and fall, if a construction beam fell on you at a site, if your mother-in-law tried to run you over with a car, Pete Finch is the attorney for you. He's won legal battles and wars all over the state of Connecticut. He's not afraid of insurance companies. He will get you every dollar you deserve in compensation. Just go to thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance, owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He works with boys and girls of all ages, trains them in all sports. He just started a new athletic development program where he will train you from the ground up in the sport of your choice and make you the best you can possibly be and help you reach your potential. Andre has sent kids to on scholarship, boys and girls of all sports, all over the country to work with the best in Hartford, Connecticut. He has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility. Go to dynamichumanperformance.com. And then down south, we have Julius Williams in Decatur, Georgia. If you're in Gwinnett County or the Atlanta area, Julius trains offensive and defensive linemen. And I don't know what's in the water down there, but there's something, because I've been on a show and the talent he has is incredible. I've never seen it as far as high school kids go. They go to tournaments all over the country. It's 5 versus 5, which is 1-on-1 for offensive and defensive linemen. And they are currently undefeated, and they are the second best ranked team in the country as far as 5v5 go. So Julius has sent people to Florida, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, just to name a few. So if you want to work with the best, go to battleofthetrenches.com. And now for the lady of the hour, the lady with the power, too sweet to be sour, joining us again back by popular demand, UConn former national champion, now very talented artist and mental health therapist, Cassie Kerns. Cassie, so great to see you.
I appreciate
it. The demand was so high. I couldn't say no. You were such a hit last time, and people resonated with you, and everyone wanted more. So thank you for coming back and answering some of the questions, because you definitely got some of the most feedback that I have ever seen. So one of the questions we got was from Megan in Worcester. She says, Cassie, you are a work of art. Your story has been painted perfectly. What kept you going through it all? How did you get through it all? Apparently, the tough times, would you say?
Well, first, thank you for the wonderful compliment. I greatly appreciate it. But what really kept me going is that I have a deep passion and a deep love for life, but
You do.
a lot of other things. And I knew that there was so much more to life than what I was experiencing. And I firmly believed that I could create that reality through whatever I had to do. And so I know at that point in time, there was a lot of deep faith in God and just really praying during those times to open doors and allow me to walk through it at the right opportunity. That really helped keep me going. And I
Yeah.
know during the darkest times, it's interesting how in each stage of development that you go through or your life, you rely on certain strengths of yourself or talents that you have. But I really relied fully on my art because at that time I sucked at communicating. Um, I was horrible. And it
Well,
was,
art is your passion too. I mean, you're very
yes,
passionate with your art
absolutely.
and
Uh,
creative.
but it was definitely, it kept me whole because it allowed me to get out a lot of the darkness that was inside of me so that it didn't kill me.
That
Like,
was your outlet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that. And it happens to so many people. Um, you and I, obviously Division I athletes at UConn, you obviously much better than myself, but the expectations are so high that it 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 really can stress you out. It can bring you down, and it's hurtful. And you do need, one thing my therapist says is you need coping skills,
Yes.
and I have zero. You
Right.
have a lot of coping skills, and that's so important. So I
Well,
I
it was,
totally get that.
it was definitely a learned thing. Like I was blessed to already have a coping strategy I wasn't really aware of at the time. Because I think a lot of people who are hurt and who go through trauma, we experience
Yeah.
trauma at our level because we weren't given the tools that we needed to kind of overcome those obstacles in that moment. So, um,
That's so
yes,
true.
my art was there, but I know through intense therapy, intense treatment, I was able to acquire those things. And learning that anything in this world, anything can be a coping strategy, whether it's writing, reading, music,
Right.
exercise,
Exactly. Yes.
whatever you choose and it like works for you for the outlet. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Um, you had a question from Bill, who's in Indiana. Cassie, you are nice and don't have a big head. That's great. Being the best high school basketball players, one of the best high school players in the state of Indiana, what helped you to stay grounded? Because I know you said UConn, Notre Dame. I mean, you had three
Yeah.
schools that you were going to go to, and that was it, because you
Right.
wanted to be the best, and that's what
Right.
you really strive to be.
Um, I think the things that kept me grounded was that I really had this vision, like this
You had
tunnel
tunnel vision.
vision.
Yeah.
I really, I don't, I think because I was so focused that I was able to kind of push things off to the side naturally, which kept me really onto it. And I also think one of the biggest motivators is that, like I was telling you before, I think there's a little bit of oppositional defiant in me. But like when somebody
Tells you no. Yeah.
tells me
That's
no,
that's the
I'm
worst thing they can
like,
do.
hold my beer or a drink or whatever, and I will prove you wrong at
Yes.
whatever expense.
Yes. Yes.
And to me, I think that's my competitiveness,
Yes.
but also my strive to um, just be the best version of myself that I could be too.
Yes. And
Hmm.
and you're definitely very grounded. You're very humble. You always give back. And for someone with superstar talent and ability like you, they kind of get a big head. And I'll even bring up, if you watch the NFL draft,
Hmm.
and
Oh God.
Shador Sanders ended up falling to the fifth round
Right.
after being projected to be a first round pick.
Hmm.
And it was primarily his interviews and the way he presented himself to
Right.
teams. Like he came off as arrogant, conceited, and thought he was just going to waltz into the NFL and take it over.
Right.
And it rubbed people the wrong way.
Right. Well, also there is a risk because with him there comes his dad. So like, are they purchasing
This
a
way, you know.
package of him and his dad, or can this person survive as a professional football player by himself? Which I don't think he can. Sorry, dude.
I forgot you. You know football well
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I didn't you say your dad was a coach?
My dad was a coach.
Yeah,
My
so you know.
husband is super into football.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
so that's why. I mean, you watch it and you understand the game,
of course.
and do you enjoy it? Do you like it?
I do.
Good, good,
Mhm.
good. We need more. We need more female fans.
I agree.
Um, this comes from Lisa at
Mhm.
UConn. How important do you think setting goals in all aspects of life is? You set them from high school on about where you wanted to attend college, what you wanted to study,
Mhm.
and you reached everything you set for yourself. You're an inspiration,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Isn't that sweet? Yes.
It is. And I mean, even in therapy, a lot of times when you're working with patients, it's all goals too. And
Mm,
I firmly believe if you don't have an idea of where you're going, then you're not going to get there efficiently or kind of the way you want to. Um,
right.
so, I mean, I'm super
Was
blessed
it
that
was it taught to you? Like, was it something instilled in you by your family or a coach about setting goals? Because I know, I mean, you definitely had an idea of where you wanted to go and
of
what you wanted to
course,
do.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of that is my personality. Like my parents, I don't know, like I was an enigma. So I kind of just
You-
like my family, they were just like, we're just going to go with whatever she decides to do. And I know deep, or when I was really young, it was deeply ingrained in me to always work hard. If
yeah,
you work hard, you'll get what you want.
exactly.
And I saw my parents work their tails off to provide for us. And I was like, okay, well, I know I can work that hard if they're working that hard. And I know it was a big motivator for me to, one, initially was to get a full ride scholarship so I didn't have to
Right.
make my parents pay for it. I was like, what a great gift would that be if I could get a full ride scholarship, but they don't have to pay for it and blah, 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 blah. And so,
And they work so hard.
yeah.
And like when you were younger, would you have considered yourself more of an introvert?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
were. Okay.
Yes. I was the person that was very empathic. That was very, very, very quiet. It was hard to get
Yes.
things out of. I would be reading people's body language, and that was like a form of communication for me, which as an adult is like a recipe for disaster if you can't, if you're
But
only.
it's true though, right? Isn't 90% of communication body language?
It is to
Something
some
like that? Yeah.
extent, but if
Yeah.
you're unhealthy mentally, you can take it into extremes, which only extrapolates and hurts you more.
Right. Right.
So
No,
I've learned
that
through my
makes
own
sense. Yeah.
therapy and growing that I really am like a tug of war of both. I am very introverted at times, but I'm very extroverted at times.
When yeah, you're obviously very easy to talk to,
Hmm.
which I think is because you're a therapist. But when you're asked questions, I mean, you're not afraid to talk, you're not afraid to give your opinion
Hmm.
and share your thoughts, which is awesome.
Hmm.
You had several questions from people asking, are you accepting new clients? If they wanted to hire you as a therapist, how would they go about doing so?
That's very flattering, but currently, right now, I'm not since
Okay.
I am working in a hospital setting. So,
Yes.
so once I move from the hospital setting into private practice, then of
Practice.
course I can take all the clients I want, and I will let you know when that happens.
So basically, it's Sarasota.
Hmm.
So if someone comes in and they need a psych consult, or they're having mental health issues, you're the one that they will see.
Yes. So we have this wonderful team currently because we're in a hospital that has over 900 beds. It's huge. It's one of
Wow.
the best public hospitals in the country. They're not paying me to say that. They should, but
We'll plug the Sarasota Hospital. Yes.
right. So we're a team of 7 professionals, which is 3 nurses and 4 therapists. So
Okay.
we respond to all substance use, alcohol withdrawal, opiate withdrawal, Baker Acts, which is like mental instability, meaning either suicidal or you're psychotic. And then we also respond to any additional psychiatry consults, along with like if a patient just got a new diagnosis of cancer, we go up there and we provide some therapy for that because that's really difficult.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's not good news.
Yeah.
So you work with these people,
Mhm.
depending on how long they end up staying in the
Uh-huh.
hospital
Yeah.
and
So
then discharge them.
it's short-term crisis intervention. So you go
Correct. Right.
to kind of meet the patient where they're at, find out the root problem, try to gather as much information pertaining to the patient as possible, help psychiatry, and then kind of help pass along that information when they discharge to wherever they need to go.
So okay. And you, if they aren't seeing therapist or psychiatrist, psychologist, you will try to refer them out to somebody for
Yes.
outpatient. Okay.
Yep.
But your goal eventually would be to be in private practice.
Absolutely. That'll happen.
Okay. Yes,
That'll happen
I
probably, I'm guessing, around the new year.
That's awesome to hear. That's
Yeah.
awesome to hear. Is it something that you'll do on your own, or is it someone that you'll partner with, you think?
It'll probably be on my own.
Good.
Because a lot of, sorry, corporate places or whatever, but I mean, I follow the rules. I do, because there's rules I have to follow, but there's
Correct.
certain ways I like to do things that are really not conventional. They're all evidence-based, but it's not like your normal therapeutic environment that you would go to, is what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just curious, do you do like hypnotherapy or CBT therapy, anything like that?
CBT,
Yep.
DBT, mindfulness, solution focused. I'm going to get certified in transference focused therapy, which is wonderful.
Yes.
So I'm
yeah.
excited for that.
Yes. And I think you will have an amazing practice because
I agree.
people definitely want to work with you.
Yeah.
This comes from Sally in Manchester, Connecticut. Gino is the mad scientist.
Yes.
How are you to decipher what he wanted while the other players were confused? I know you mentioned that you kind of became like a coach.
Yes. So there's a method to his madness. If you don't understand the method to his madness, you will be lost. And so me understanding it, if I could help translate it to my teammates to make them get the best out of what they're experiencing, that's what I did. Because if I could help someone digest what is being said so that you can understand and increase like your efficacy, your efficiency in playing basketball, then why not? Why would I not help somebody?
Yeah, I mean, because you're ending up getting the most production out of them as well. They're reaching their potential. Right. So you being there to guide them was huge. And Gino has stated that several times. What an important piece you were on the national championship team. So I definitely agree with that. So we have Mackenzie from Denver says, Cassie, you are my hero.
Oh,
To overcome the obstacles you have in life is inspirational. How did you stay so driven during that time?
but that's a good question.
Oh,
I think,
Mackenzie, you asked a good question.
yeah, that's a good question. And how I stayed driven. I held on to hope a lot during those times.
And you mentioned praying too. You mentioned your spirituality that
Yes.
guided you.
And like, I know during those times, like, I'm like, listen, pardon my language, but like, hey, I'm fucking things up. Like, I can't do this. I need help. Please guide me in whichever way you can. And I know along my journey, there was little nuggets, little goodies placed along the way to be like, oh, okay, I'm going in the right direction. Here's some relief. But then getting the message saying, well, you're going to have to go through something really, really hard after this. And you're like, okay. But I think having those periods of like seeing the results, seeing me progress, motivated me to keep going. And also, like when you start going through stuff, you're like, I don't think I can do this. But then you remember, you're like, wait a minute, I just went through that. I just dealt with that. I did this. I can do that. I will make it through. So it's a lot of reflection. It's a lot of internal dialogue. It's a lot of trusting your team, your people around you, and trusting God and really understanding that you have the power to determine where you want to go. And once you
Yeah.
kind of overcome that mindset of I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough, I'm all these type of things, and really replacing it with what's the truth, then that's where I think that's really where I took off and like what really helped me.
That makes a lot of sense. Once you
Mhm.
see that you're making progress and it's working, you believe in it, and that's what keeps you motivated. That's what keeps you driven, and
Mhm.
that's what gets you through those tough times.
Mhm.
And I have felt all those things that you've mentioned, and
Yeah.
it is tough to overcome. So that makes a lot of sense. That is a great answer. Um, we had a question from Rachel in UConn. Mental health issues have a stigma to this day.
Mhm.
How did you ask for help without being worried what other people would think? It's probably my own insecurities, but that is my fear for asking for help.
Mm.
So I guess
I feel like
Rachel is just asking that, you know,
yeah. I
she's
feel you.
worried about the stigma.
I feel you in that one. And I got to a point, well, first off, like growing up in my generation, it was like, well, like mental health, like as a kid, or like even in my family structure, like mental health doesn't really exist. Like, what is this stuff?
Yeah,
And to be the person that kind of like was like, okay, there has to be an answer to this and seeking an answer to what's going on. I'm like, listen, I'm not okay. And I know at that point, to me, it was like life or death. So the stigma wasn't there
no,
for me.
you were worried
It,
about, you wanted to save your life.
right. And I was like, okay, how can I do that? And I know God put in my life people strategically, like there were God moments, and I'm like, huh, that would
Exactly.
never would have happened on my own doing. Um, but going back to the stigma, and I want to comment on her awareness that she's like, well, maybe it's my own internal self that's doing this. But in athletics in college, stigma is a huge thing, and there's a lot of research going on right now trying to identify that as a problem and formulate solutions to solve that. And I think they started doing that through like Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, and saying,
Yeah,
hey, like this stuff is real and like we struggle and
that
we
made a
need
difference.
right. And I think the more people that talk about it, the more people that advocate for it, the more people that um, really start to like just shut that up, I think things will be a lot better. And I firmly
I
believe
agree with you.
that someone, let's say a top athlete, has mental health concerns and they go to a therapist, not a sports psychologist, I would say a therapist, that I think that their performance and their overall athletic ability will be so much better.
Improve, yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the things I want to do my research on, is doing mental health for collegiate athletes. I already put together like a proposal and things like
Oh,
that.
that's great.
Yeah. Because my perfect world, my vision is that each team would have a therapist.
I agree. It's
Yep.
definitely needed.
Yep.
And I think it would make a huge difference if every team had a mental health expert or therapist for people to talk to. And then I also think, like you said, that would definitely remove some of the stigma behind it.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Several people asked about, I mean, I know that you do short-term treatment. Would you also recommend medication along with that treatment if you're referring someone out? Do you go there or no?
I do. So it does
Okay.
go, it goes like per patient. So
Yes.
as a therapist, I'm never going to push a patient to do something they don't want to do. I will recommend things, but
Sure.
I'll try to gather a holistic picture to see who this person is, what they're about, really what's going on, and create a diagnosis off of that, because based off a diagnosis, then you can do medications and things like that.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people these days that are scared of medication, or people that don't want to do medication. But I always come in and I describe it to them of like, okay, one, medication is not permanent. It's not.
Right.
Two, when I always say like, okay, you need to get down to your baseline. But in order to do that, you need to kind of get something to help you there. So the medication helps you get there. And when you process and talk with therapy, you can formulate tools and things to utilize so that when things happen, you're able to cope better. And so the symptoms of the diagnosis don't present itself. So with that being said, once you gain the tools that you need, you practice, you implement, you tackle hard things in real life, in real time, then you can slowly come off of medications.
Right.
But if you have like psychotic disorder, like bipolar and schizophrenia, those type of things, your medication is okay to stay on.
Yeah, it's something that you're going to need to regulate you for life. That's just what it is.
Correct.
Just like taking your vitamins in the morning.
Right.
I've been obviously scared to take medication because my view has always been, I argue with my therapist, putting me on medication, it may make me feel better, but it's not going to change the circumstances of my life. That was my argument against taking medication. I was like, you can put me on it, but how's it going to change the things that I want changed in my life? It may make me feel better, but I didn't think that it would help change. So that was my argument.
This is my response to that, though, is that the medication can help you feel better to a point where you can tackle the hard things that are so uncomfortable in life. And so that you can manageably attack that in a safe spot when you're somewhat regulated. Because
when you're not depressed or whatever.
Right. Because you're not going to start digging through trauma when you're like completely like borderline suicidal or things like that. You don't want to do that. You have to be at a level ground where you can tackle things with a clear mind and conscious.
I agree.
And I will tell you this too. Myself, when I first started getting help, I was like, I do not want any medication. I don't want any of that stuff. And they explained it to me the way I'm explaining it to you. And so I tried it and I was able to get myself regulated. And so I could think clearly and gather all those things I needed to. And shortly after, I weaned myself off.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you can still wean yourself off and keep the value of what the medication is given to you.
Absolutely.
If done properly.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have Christine. She's out from California.
Kelly.
She wants to know, Cassie, how was it playing with the best team in the country? How would you describe that experience? And do you have fond memories from it to this day?
Yeah, so playing for a team like that, it's interesting you asked that question because
Well, I didn't.
I don't allow myself to, and during that time I didn't allow myself to like imagine what it was like playing for other teams. Like this was it. This was the only thing. And so I had high expectations. I had high visions of what this would be for me. And like I call them the most rewarding, most beautiful, but ugly time of my life. Like so much was learned, so much was given, so much was there's just it's indescribable to say what you gain from doing that.
Yeah, because you're with the best, and
Right.
you're still having to manage your own struggles as you're with the best,
Right.
and the expectations that go along with it. With when you're at UConn, and there's those expectations never ever go away. So
No, and I think I think the ones that are very successful there, they have such high expectations of themselves. So that aligns with like the core of the program. And so when you're along the same vision, the same line, sky's the limit.
right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. I agree. We have Matthew from Nebraska. Cassie, you are beautiful, and I enjoyed your story so much. I am an addict. I need to get help.
Yeah.
How would you describe the best way to do that? I guess maybe go to the hospital, or how would he do
I want to
it?
commend him for saying all that stuff because that's like the first part of the process is to say, hey, I'm struggling. This is what I deal with. I need help. So when I know you asked that question, you can receive help. So kudos to you. My advice for that is if you have a therapist, they should have some resources for you to help you find what you're looking for. If you don't have a therapist, you're more than welcome to email me, and I can help you find a facility if a inpatient treatment facility is what you want, or if you want a partial hospitalization or intensive outpatient to assist with your substance of choice.
Will your hospital do something like that if someone is an addict and wants treatment?
Absolutely.
Will they'll keep them hospitalized and treat them through withdrawal and everything?
So right now, I mean, obviously I can't say any names, but a patient has been at the hospital for 4 months.
Wow. Okay, so they will do it.
They had extreme endocarditis, which is the hardening of the heart due to IV substance use. Yeah. And they cleaned out the patient's heart, and she's getting ready, maybe like a couple weeks to discharge. And I started having the conversation of like, well, what do you think you would want to do after this? And they wanted to go to inpatient treatment. So I have a bunch of people in my pocket out here that I handed her the resources. I helped talk through her each one. And she chose one. So then I worked with case management to form a safe discharge to that facility.
That's incredible that you did all that. That's huge. Because a lot of people they don't know how to do it. But I mean, is it something that you think people could overcome on their own with, just going to therapy, going to meetings, or would you recommend more starting off with doing inpatient?
My go-to, so if you are in substance use, as you know, you need to change your entire environment. You need to kind of isolate yourself from your normal
Yeah.
activities. You need to be in an environment where it's healthy, it's conducive, other like-minded people to help you. Because a lot of times when we're left in our addiction, like our addiction is our unhealthy coping strategy. When we're hurt,
Very true.
um, we run to something that will create an immediate fix, and it just perpetuates the wound. Um,
It
but
does.
to answer the question, if you're ready for treatment, if you're wholehearted ready for it, I suggest that you go to inpatient, because a lot of inpatients, what they'll do is they'll give like a 28-day program, or if
Correct.
you need more, they can approve for more. And then a
Correct.
lot of them have a step down unit of like an IOP.
Yep.
And
That's what I did. Yep.
yep. And then a lot of them will have graduate housing. So it's
Yep.
like a step down thing, just to make sure that the person really does well. Because one of the biggest things is when you leave inpatient treatment and you go back into the real world, there's so many relapses with any type of addiction, because there wasn't the baby steps
You're
of
not in the bubble of treatment.
right. Because when you
Yeah.
when you look at it, like I had conversations with my mom, she's like, that was not reality. And I said, I understand that, but I needed that to get back to reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. What's sad for me, I have a picture from rehab
Mm-hmm.
with our group when we went out to dinner one night.
Yeah.
And out of the 18 or so people, only 2 are still alive.
Yeah.
And it's a lot because our rehab place did not do a very good job setting up aftercare as
Yeah.
far as housing, where to go.
Right.
You know, once your insurance was up, you got a bus ticket, you're out of town. You know, they had case managers,
Yeah.
but the case managers weren't great at getting SSI. They weren't great at helping them with jobs and
Mm-hmm.
obviously housing.
Yeah.
So it just, I look at that and it scares me. And then it makes me wonder, like, does AA, NA, does it really work? Like, how can you say that, yeah, you should go to treatment and it works when everyone ends up dead, or it has like a 50% success rate? And everyone always tells me that right now it's the best treatment that is available.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, because
Yeah.
you go and you get clean and you end up relapsing and using a dose that you had taken before that's obviously too high because you're clean,
Yeah.
and you overdose.
Yeah.
And that's so hard to deal with.
Yeah. But
I mean,
go for it.
no, I was just gonna say, because I've asked you a lot of questions about addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a field that you would get into with your private practice? Would you want to treat addicts? Would that be part of it, or would you prefer not to?
Definitely part of it. I mean, because
Okay.
eating disorders, full blown addiction. Like
Yeah.
I'm willing to help out where I can. Like I know if someone comes to me and they're in full blown addiction, I'm gonna be like, this is definitely not appropriate for you. I'm gonna get you to where you need to go.
Right. You know that
Mm-hmm,
part.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know enough that you need a higher level of care than what
Right.
I can offer.
Correct.
But uh, for instance, someone like me
Mm-hmm.
who has been clean for several years and is doing kind of maintenance treatment for
Yeah.
addiction, that is something that you would do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
don't mind treating addicts. Okay.
Absolutely not. Because
We
what I
have,
always say before you ask the next question
yeah,
is that I know a lot of people, when I encounter them at the hospital and they're in addiction and they're just shameful and whatever, and I try to paint a picture. I said, listen, this wasn't your fault. And they're like, what do you mean? I use every day. I'm like, well, your decision to use it every day is your fault, but the reason why is not your fault.
it's not.
No.
So are you on the side you believe it's a disease?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because listen, so people don't just use drugs because they want to use drugs. People don't drink alcohol and be an alcoholic because I want to be an alcoholic. It's never that. There's always a root wound, there's always a root cause as to
Right.
why we do that. Often stems in childhood. We weren't given the proper coping strategies, or we weren't loved the way that we need to be loved. We weren't protected the way that we need to be protected. So what do? We run to things that in the moment give us a temporary fix of protection, of feeling loved. And so when you're young and your brain is still forming, the synapses in your brain are like, oh, alcohol equals love. Alcohol equals love. So when you feel unloved and unworthy, you run to the alcohol to feel that wound or that void, which it never will be filled. So
You're
yes,
right.
disease.
No, when I was in treatment, my roommate was DMX, if you can believe that.
Crazy.
It was right before he died. He hated me because I snored too much. No, we were buddies, but we'd go to meetings and everyone would go nuts, say, "Hey, X, X, X." He's like, "Motherfucker, I'm Earl.
Right.
I'm just like you guys."
Yeah.
And I would debate with him about it because he was of the mindset that this is a disease, and I was of the mindset it's a choice. Like, you made the choice to do it. So we would go back and forth. And his nickname for me, he would call me the professor because he said that I was too smart for my own good. He said it's a 100% a disease, and until you realize that, you're gonna continue to have self-loathing and guilt and blame yourself. You can't blame yourself. That was always his advice.
Yeah. That's good advice, because you can't blame yourself. You can take accountability
right.
for your actions and your reactions and things, but you can't blame yourself for what happened to you.
I will give you Diana from Sarasota. Wants to know, how was it for you going from Indiana to Connecticut? Was it completely different as far as lifestyle and culture, or was it an easy transition for you?
I'm trying to think. Like, my hometown, sorry, Valparaiso. No.
Valpo.
But,
yeah, but I can see you being put anywhere and you'd be fine.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was an easy. The only difficult transition is, of course, like you're there on your own, like living your life the way that you're choosing to live it, and obviously mixed in school. I don't know. I was always a hard worker. I was always deep in my studies, so yes, it was a bigger.
Yeah, you buried your head and you did your work.
Yeah.
I got you. That makes sense. I'll give you a couple more. George out of Illinois wanted to know, Cassie, I've seen your art. It's beautiful. Is anything up for purchase, and how would I purchase your artwork?
Well, thank you. I love my artwork too. I do have a handful that are for sale.
Okay.
I did have a website, but I'm in the process of revamping everything.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to brand myself as a total package with like therapy, art,
Yeah.
hopefully podcasts in the future.
Yes. You
And
can
things
offer
like
it
that.
all.
Right. So I kind of want to form out what that's going to look like before I just start creating a web page with not the full intent that I want it to have. So to answer your question, yes, there's artwork. I don't have a place to show it right now.
It will be for sale at some point.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea because you definitely belong on a podcast.
Thanks.
And there's people who really like love you and appreciate your advice. and need help, and you could offer that. And then, you have your art that you could market,
Yeah.
because people like your artwork,
Yeah.
and they've seen plenty of it. So yeah, that's what he had wanted to know. And then I have, let's see, Lisa from Maine wants to know, Cassie, your artwork is outstanding. What is your inspiration when you do your art?
That's a really good question.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
It really, I would say it's the most authentic form of myself when I'm in that moment, meaning that there's no walls, everything is just fluid. And a lot of my paintings go off of feelings, a lot of like music. Like I'll listen to music, and like if certain songs resonate with me, I start creating based off of that song. Or I'll write as I'm, like if I'm painting, I'll take a break and then I'll write, and then whatever I'm writing, I'm like, oh, that's, yes, let's do that. So it's like a intuitive collaborative process with myself. Like I never, not all my paintings, but I never, for abstract, I never really know where it's going, because it's all about the process of it. And that's
Right.
super exciting to me. But when
Yeah.
it comes to, so like for a lot of clients that I have, they love the hyper realistic portraitures and paintings. For those are very, very therapeutic, because people ask me, how do you draw something real? And I was trained to look at the shapes of color. So when
Right.
I'm painting these things that look realistic, I'm I don't look at the whole image. I look at what I look at the shapes that I'm painting, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. It does. I mean,
Yeah.
that's your process, and that's
Mhm.
incredible how it works. And I love the freedom and the creativity, and you go with your gut, you go with your feelings,
Oh
and that's
yes.
how you come up with a lot of the stuff that you have.
And I think that's why a lot of my art is really, really good, is because it's authentic, it's real, there's no critique, there's no, I mean, it just is. And I think that's what people love, because this world is so much about critique and about perfection and about how, like, how to do something. And I think that's the magical part of it, is like, well, I can't tell you how. I just do it. And
Right.
um yeah, I think people feel a lot of me in the paintings, and I think that's why a lot of people like them.
Um, the last question I'll give you is Ashley from UConn
Mhm.
wanted to know if you take requests for art or painting, if someone
all
wants to get a piece done by you.
all the time.
You do. Okay.
Yes, a lot of requests.
Okay.
Hmm.
And I gave you a request too.
Yes, you
So,
did.
but you do take them, and
Mhm.
the best way would be to email you
Yeah.
to get in contact. Okay.
Yep.
So, in the show notes, is it okay if I put your email in?
Absolutely.
Okay, from people. But again, I definitely think that your show has made an impact on a lot of people,
Good.
made a difference with a lot of people. I've never gotten the response that I got from you.
Mm.
So when you had, I know you're working on the house and everything. When you do have time, and if you do decide that you want a podcast, I am here to help, and would definitely love to work with you on it, because
Awesome.
I think that you're great. I think that you'll get we'll get you a sponsor, and you'll be able to showcase your artwork
Hmm.
and do everything that you want to do.
Hmm.
You're helping people with therapy.
Hmm.
So many people asked about therapy
Yeah.
and your art. and your playing days. So there's so many different things that you can talk about and offer to people. And I appreciate the help that you gave to me when I had to speak at that event and was about to run away. That was very kind of you to do.
No problem.
You have been fantastic. Do you have? I know it's Mother's Day. Do you have any plans for the weekend as being the mom of the year?
The mom of the year.
With your family?
Tomorrow I have to work, which I'm fine with. Then Sunday, what are we doing Sunday? I think they have a day planned for me, so I'm just gonna allow that to happen.
Good. And your work is in the hospital. Like you'll do. Is it like 3 12-hour shifts typically, or do you work
4 10s?
Oh, you do the 4 10s. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, again, you're the best. Thank you so much for. No, in my own mind, I am. Thank you again for coming on and answering the people's questions. Just know that I picked a few, and you got a tremendous response. Everything was positive. Everyone supports you, and everyone thinks that you make a difference. So, and they commend you for sharing your struggles and how you got through them. And everyone is happy, especially me, that you're successful and living such a good life right now.
Well, thank you.
Okay. I just have to mention Ned Von Young, Fresh himself. He has the Fresh Fold Laundry Company just outside of Chapel Hill. It is a high-end laundry service, as I found out, not a laundromat. You can book online, drop off your clothes. They wash, dry, and fold them in lightning speed. And you come back and you pick them up. They are a state-of-the-art facility. They've been open since January. They also have deals for college students, and they have online subscriptions. So you can do a weekly or bi-weekly subscription to have your laundry done. And soon they will offer a pickup service where they will come to your house and pick up your laundry. Go to their website at freshfold-laundry.com. And then finally, we have Andrew Adams and Pro Level Recovery. It's a rehab place in Georgia, Gwinnett County, Atlanta. Andrew Adams played in the NFL for several years. He's from UConn, and he is doing treatment, rehab, chiropractic work on any athlete that is injured. He will do the physical therapy and get you back on your feet. Or any person who has an injury and needs physical therapy, go to Pro Level Recovery, and it's prolevelrecovery.com. So for UConn national champion and mental health therapist and a spectacular artist, Cassie Kerns, I'm Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.